It took you 6 months to believe your coworker was safe. It took 6 seconds for your nervous system to decide they weren't. Did you know that trauma impacts how we navigate our careers, but most career advice ignores this reality? Imagine feeling confident and safe at work while honoring your healing journey. Welcome to your Trauma Wise Career Guide, the podcast that reimagines career development for trauma survivors. I'm your host, Cindy Bennett, a trauma survivor turned trauma-informed career coach and founder of the Resilient Career Academy. If you're navigating your career while honoring your healing journey, you are in the right place. Today, we're talking about something that might be happening in your workplace right now. That sinking feeling when a professional relationship you carefully built suddenly feels broken. You know the scenario. 3 months to believe your colleague wouldn't use your ideas against you. 2 more months before you'd speak honestly in meetings. Maybe 6 months total before you could actually relax and be yourself around them. You didn't just decide to trust them, you studied them. You watched how they handled stress, whether they kept their word on small things, how they spoke to others when things went wrong. Building professional trust when you carry trauma isn't casual. It's architecture. It's the patient, anxious work of constructing something you desperately want, but have every reason to believe will eventually collapse. And then one day, something shifts. A meeting gets cut short without explanation. A message goes unanswered. They seem distant or distracted or just different. To someone without a trauma history, this might register as a minor blip. But to you, that carefully constructed trust doesn't crack, it shatters. This is the disproportionate math of trauma. 6 months to believe someone is safe, 6 seconds for your nervous system to decide they're not. Today, we're going to explore why workplace ruptures feel so catastrophic for trauma survivors, what's actually happening in your nervous system during these moments, and most importantly, the components you need to address for genuine repair. Because here's what I want you to know. Repair is possible, and learning to navigate it changes everything about your professional relationships. Let's start by naming what's really happening when a workplace relationship experiences a rupture, a break in connection, trust, or understanding. For many trauma survivors, these moments activate more than just professional concern. They trigger responses rooted in your nervous system's memories of past relational harm. You might find yourself overreacting to small disconnections because your nervous system remembers when small signs meant danger was coming. That slightly curt email doesn't feel just rude, it feels like a threat to your safety or belonging. Or maybe you're catastrophizing the outcome in ways that seem extreme, even to you. A minor miscommunication becomes, "I'm definitely getting fired," or "everyone secretly hates me." Your brain is trying to prepare for the worst-case scenario it remembers from the past. Some of you might freeze or avoid completely instead of addressing the issue. The thought of having to repair a conversation triggers such intense anxiety that avoiding the person altogether feels like the only option, even though you know it's making things worse. Others fall into people-pleasing, taking on disproportionate responsibility for the rupture, over-apologizing, or abandoning your boundaries entirely just to restore the relationship. And then there's reading malice into ambiguity. When someone's behavior is unclear, your system defaults to assuming the worst rather than giving them the benefit of the doubt, because your trauma taught you that people's intentions often hurt you. Listen carefully. These aren't character flaws. They're intelligent responses your nervous system developed to keep you safe. The challenge is that they often prevent the very repair that would actually create the safety you're seeking. Here's where it gets complex. Sometimes workplace ruptures aren't just about what's happening now. They're about what happened then. Maybe your supervisor's communication style reminds you of a parent who was unpredictable with affection. Perhaps a colleague's directness triggers memories of someone who used honesty as a weapon. Or a team conflict resurrects old feelings of being caught in the middle, forced to choose sides, or punished for someone else's behavior. When this happens, you're not just managing a present-day professional disagreement. You're also managing a nervous system that thinks it's back in the situation where repair wasn't safe, wasn't possible, or wasn't offered. The relationship rupture in front of you becomes entangled with ruptures from your past, ones that were never repaired or were repaired in ways that required you to betray yourself. Maybe you had to apologize for things that weren't your fault. Maybe you had to pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. Maybe repair meant accepting behavior that hurt you. This is why the standard workplace advice about just have a direct conversation or assume positive intent can feel impossibly difficult. Your nervous system is operating on old information, and it's not particularly interested in logic or professional best practices when it believes you're in danger. So, what does effective workplace repair actually require? Not a script to follow or forcing yourself to be vulnerable when your system is screaming danger. It's about addressing several key components that create the conditions for genuine reconnection. Let me walk you through what you'll need to work on. Component number 1, distinguishing between then and now. Before you can repair a current workplace relationship, you need to develop the capacity to recognize when you're responding to present circumstances versus past experiences. This means building awareness of what belongs to this situation and what's being borrowed from your history. This component involves learning to identify your specific triggers, what situations, tones, or behaviors activate your trauma responses. It's about understanding your personal rupture patterns. Do you typically freeze, fight, flee, or fawn? Knowing your pattern helps you recognize when it's happening. And crucially, it's about creating space between stimulus and response. That pause where you can ask yourself, is this person actually my abusive parent? Or do they just have a similar communication style? Is this situation genuinely dangerous? Or does it just feel familiar in an uncomfortable way? This isn't about dismissing your responses. They're giving you important information. It's about adding context so you can choose your next action rather than being driven by your nervous system's autopilot. Component number 2, regulating your nervous system for connection. Here's the truth that might surprise you. Repair conversations require a regulated nervous system. When you're in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode, your capacity for genuine connection and collaborative problem solving is significantly compromised. Think about it. When your nervous system is activated, your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles nuance, empathy, and strategic thinking, goes offline. You're literally not capable of the kind of conversation repair requires. This component focuses on developing personalized regulation strategies that work for you in professional settings. Not generic take deep breaths advice, but approaches that help you access the calm, connected state necessary for meaningful repair without forcing yourself into false composure. Maybe you need to take a walk before the conversation. Maybe you need to schedule it for a time when you're naturally more regulated. Maybe you need to have your therapy session the day before. Whatever helps you show up in a state where connection is actually possible. Component number 3, assessing relationship safety and repair worthiness. This might be the most important component, and it's one that trauma survivors often struggle with. Not all workplace relationships are safe to repair, and not all ruptures require your involvement in fixing them. Trauma survivors tend to fall into one of two extremes, either avoiding repair entirely because it feels too dangerous, or trying to repair relationships that are genuinely unsafe or one-sided. Both strategies keep you stuck. This component involves developing criteria for evaluating whether repair is appropriate. Ask yourself, has this person shown capacity for repair in the past? Are they willing to take responsibility for their part? Do they respect boundaries? Is this a pattern or an isolated incident? It's also about recognizing the difference between productive discomfort and genuine danger. Repair conversations will feel uncomfortable, that's normal, but they shouldn't feel unsafe. Learning to distinguish between these two feelings is crucial. And finally, it's about honoring your assessment of safety even when others disagree. If your nervous system is telling you this person or situation isn't safe for repair, that information matters, even if HR or your manager thinks you should just talk it out. Component 4, communicating your experience without over-responsibility. Many trauma survivors either take on 100% of the blame for ruptures to avoid conflict or abandonment, or share nothing about their experience to avoid vulnerability. Both strategies prevent genuine repair. This component addresses finding the middle ground. It's about expressing your perspective and impact while maintaining appropriate professional boundaries, neither minimizing your experience nor over-explaining your trauma responses. You might say something like, "When the meeting ended abruptly yesterday, I noticed I felt anxious about whether I'd done something wrong. I'm working on not jumping to conclusions, and I want to check in with you about how you're experiencing our collaboration." See what happened there? You named your experience, took responsibility for your part in managing your response, and opened space for dialogue, all without over-apologizing or over-explaining. Component number 5, making and receiving repair bids. Repair requires specific skills, offering authentic acknowledgement of your part in the rupture, making clear requests for what you need going forward, and receiving others' repair attempts even when they're imperfect. This component focuses on the elements of effective repair communication. What does a genuine repair bid sound like? How do you time these conversations appropriately? How do you match your repair approach to the relationship context? Because repairing with your manager looks different than repairing with a peer. And here's what gets tricky. You also need to work with your nervous system's resistance to vulnerability, because repair requires some level of openness, and your trauma taught you that openness leads to harm. Learning to take calculated risks with vulnerability, small steps that honor your healing pace, is part of this component. Component 6, rebuilding trust through small, consistent actions. After the repair conversation, if one happens, the real work of repair lives in the consistency of small daily interactions. Trust isn't rebuilt through one perfect apology. It's rebuilt through patterns of reliable, safe behavior over time. This component involves identifying trust-building behaviors in your specific workplace context. What does reliability look like in your role? What actions demonstrate respect for boundaries? What creates psychological safety in your interactions? It's also about tracking progress in relationship repair, noticing when your nervous system starts to relax around this person again, when you can share an idea without the hypervigilance, when collaboration starts to feel natural rather than forced. And crucially, it's about managing the anxiety that comes with extending trust again after it's been broken. Your nervous system will be on high alert, watching for signs of danger. That's normal. The work is staying present with the discomfort while the relationship proves itself trustworthy through consistent actions. Component 7, when repair isn't possible. Sometimes workplace relationships can't be fully repaired. The other person isn't interested, the harm was too significant, or the relationship dynamics are fundamentally incompatible with your healing. This doesn't mean you're failing at repair. It means you're being realistic about what's possible. This component addresses how to maintain professional working relationships without full repair. You can be cordial, collaborative, and professional with someone you don't fully trust. You can protect yourself in ongoing difficult relationships through strategic boundaries and limited vulnerability. It's also about finding closure when the other person won't participate in repair. Sometimes you need to repair your relationship with the situation rather than with the person. That means processing your own feelings, extracting the learning, and making peace with the limitation of that particular professional relationship. This isn't giving up. It's being strategic about where you invest your emotional energy and recognizing that not every workplace relationship needs to be deep or fully repaired to function adequately for your professional goals. You might be thinking, this sounds like a lot of emotional work. Can't I just avoid difficult people and focus on my actual job? Here's the reality. Workplace relationships aren't separate from your career advancement. They are your career advancement. Your ability to navigate rupture and repair affects how comfortable you feel taking professional risks and speaking up with ideas. It influences whether you're seen as a collaborative team member or someone who's difficult to work with. It determines your access to opportunities, projects, and advancement that come through relationships. Think about how much energy you spend managing relationship anxiety. When you're expending significant energy avoiding certain colleagues, recovering from emotional triggers, or managing the anxiety of unresolved conflicts, you have less energy available for the work that showcases your competence and moves your career forward. And here's what I see all the time. The inability to navigate workplace ruptures keeps trauma survivors stuck in positions or organizations that aren't serving them. The fear of relational conflict prevents you from advocating for yourself, requesting changes, or even leaving for better opportunities. Learning to work with rupture or repair isn't just about being a better colleague. It's about reclaiming your professional agency and building the relational capacity that creates career options. If you're feeling overwhelmed by all the components involved in healthy workplace repair, that's understandable. This is complex work that happens gradually, not overnight. The goal isn't to become someone who handles every workplace conflict perfectly. The goal is to build your capacity to stay present with relational difficulty, make choices that honor both your safety and your professional goals, and gradually expand your ability to experience repair as something that can actually happen, not just something that's supposed to happen. Some relationships will repair beautifully. Some will repair partially. Some won't repair at all, and you'll need to find ways to work professionally with that reality. All of these outcomes can support your career growth when you have the tools to navigate them with awareness and agency. Your trauma taught you that rupture is dangerous, repair is impossible, or comes at too high a cost, and safety requires either perfect performance or complete withdrawal. Your healing gets to teach you something different. That rupture is inevitable in human relationships. Repair is possible when there's mutual willingness, and safety can be rebuilt through small, consistent, authentic actions. The workplace relationships you build from this foundation, relationships that can weather disconnection and come back stronger, become some of your most valuable professional assets. Understanding what needs to happen in workplace repair is powerful. But understanding isn't the same as having the practical skills, nervous system capacity, and strategic approaches to actually do it in your specific professional context. If you're tired of workplace relationships feeling like an unpredictable minefield, if you want to build the capacity to navigate rupture and repair in ways that support both your healing and your career, I invite you to schedule a discovery call with me. In that conversation, we'll explore your specific patterns around workplace rupture and repair, what's getting in the way of the relational skills you want to develop, and whether trauma-informed career coaching might support your growth. You'll find the link to schedule in the show notes. The professional relationships that move your career forward are waiting on the other side of your willingness to learn repair. You don't have to figure this out alone. You've survived relationships that couldn't be repaired. Now it's time to build the ones that can. Thanks for listening to Your Trauma Wise Career Guide. I'll see you next time. You're not walking this path alone. Every step you take toward a trauma-wise career is an act of courage, and I'm here cheering you on. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with another survivor who needs to hear this message. Together, we're rewriting the rules of career success. Keep rising, keep healing, keep building.